Welcome to Season 3 of the Truer Business Podcast with Kara Ellery
and Lauren Van Mullum. This season, we're exploring how to set yourself up for ease instead of hustling and slinging pressure tactics on every single platform.
So if you are ready to stop chasing pie-in-the-sky goals and pursue gentle growth, this season is for you.
Today, we are welcoming Theresa Mazzuco. And she and I got to talking one day, and what she does and the way she does it, I think, is particularly interesting because you set people up for success from the very beginnings. And your beginnings are so interesting because they are so varied in terms of the kinds of entrepreneurship that you have ventured into. So I'm going to give you an official intro so everybody knows who you are, and then we're going to dive in. I'm super excited. So you're a business coach and consultant who helps women turn their ideas into sustainable businesses. Through your 10-step framework, you guide founders through everything from offers and pricing to systems, operations, and marketing so they can build a business that actually works.
You hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what I do.
Groovy. So our whole theme this season is gentle growth. And the reason I wanted to talk to you specifically is because you are focusing on growth from the ground up. So we're talking about foundations. I want you to sort of run us through what I already know, which is your foundations in entrepreneurship, because you came into this from a very different angle than most of us.
Yes.
And I'm super curious because I'm new to you, and I read on your website that you ran, I think it was like 6 businesses in the past 10 years. And I'm somebody who is like a multi-hyphenate, but 6 sounds like a lot.
It is.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So the way that I like to say it is I fell face first into entrepreneurship. So it was not something that I necessarily planned on. My dad was a business owner my entire life, and he had moved to Florida from New York in the early 2000s, went to work for a family business. His brothers lived in Florida. He worked with them, then took that business over. And then a few short years after that, he had a massive heart attack, which fortunately he had survived that heart attack. Unfortunately, we did lose him last year to cancer, but he survived the heart attack. And he had this business that was his livelihood, his retirement plan. And if he were to survive, he was in a coma for almost 6 weeks. He was in the hospital after the heart attack. And if he were to make it out of the hospital, the business needed to survive as well. So I stepped in for what I thought was going to be a temporary time frame to keep the business afloat in his absence. While he was in the hospital, he did suffer some brain damage during the heart attack. He was able to function and live on his own when he got out of the hospital, but he was never able to return to work. So after he got out of the hospital, I decided to continue running that business and take it over full time. The thing is, my dad did everything like it was 1995. The problem being it was 2017. So he didn't need to have 3 copies of invoices printed. He had systems, but they were all very manual and paper-esque processes. So it took me about 2 years to get the business, or get the systems rather, upgraded and get the team on board, because this was a contracting business. He owned an alarm company, and a lot of the people that worked for the business had known me since I was a little girl, and also male-dominated industries. So being a 27-year-old female in a business where a lot of men who were older and much more experienced in that typical industry than I was a challenge. So first 2 years spent on the team and the operations, next 4 years scaling, and then I sold that business. While I had that business, though, I was missing my hospitality roots, which is what I was doing prior to that. So I started a wine tasting and charcuterie business and a Amazon dropship business, because at the time, everybody was talking about that passive income.
Yes. Oh, gosh. I remember when passive income was the thing
yes.
that you just heard everywhere.
Yeah, make money while you sleep. I still have clients that will come to me and they'll be like, I just need some passive income. I'm like, we all need passive income, but that's not a thing.
Thank you. Thank you for saying it's so true. Does not exist. I'm sorry, everyone.
I know. Sorry, anybody that really had high hopes on, making money while they sleep without having to do anything at all. And then after that business, I had started a Airbnb arbitrage business, which for those of you that don't know what arbitrage is, I rented a 3-unit property and I sublet each unit onto Airbnb. The problem being the entire building was infested with termites, which I didn't know that before I rented it, but the landlord did. That is an interesting story. From there, I started a corporate events business and I went to work with a software company handling their corporate events and their field marketing. And then the universe kept placing these people in my path that needed help getting their own businesses started. And, I was helping them left and right. And between starting all of these businesses on my own and helping these entrepreneurs get their businesses started, just, people asking me for advice and like, yeah, no problem. Let's grab coffee. I would love to help. My sister being one of them. She was really the catalyst for starting your business blueprint. I helped her a lot get off the ground. And I identified not only the 10 steps that I helped her through, but that I had done myself in all of my businesses, that I had guided other people that had been asking me for advice on. The idea of the Start Smart framework and your business blueprint was kind of born. The CEO at the software company that I was working for, who is a good friend of mine and my husband's, was always kind of pushing me too. He's like, you need to be a business coach. This is, I feel like, your thing. So I was getting the gentle nudges from him, from my husband as well, and everyone in my life, more or less. So I decided to take the leap and start your business blueprint. And I am very glad I did, because it is absolutely what I am passionate about. And I love it. I'm so grateful that I get to do this and helping all these little baby businesses get started and just watching them like jump out of the nest and fly. It's so rewarding. And I am so grateful.
That's what I think is really interesting about your story is so many business coaches that I know, they built one business before they started coaching other people on how to build their businesses. And it's usually like they've only had one kind of business experience. So they're like only online service provider business. And that's it. That's actually probably my story. But I think when you have so much experience in so many different things to bring to the table, like you have not fast tracked this. You have taken the time to get experience from all these different places. And that reminds me of how I started out as a little baby copywriter, because I was working for anybody who would pay me. And I have worked with so many different kinds of businesses, so many different kinds of business owners. And then, okay, I'm going to turn into like the crotchety old lady for a minute. Kids today. Kids today. They just come out of these copywriting programs, which didn't exist when I was new. And they're like, I'm going to charge top dollar and I have zero experience and I'm only like, I'm niching down already. And I'm like, no, you will be useless to everybody if you don't take some time. So those are my foundations, is just getting that breadth of experience. But when we're talking about the foundations of actually building a viable business that has legs to go long, what actually are we talking about? What are these foundations?
So obviously there's 10 of them because it's a 10-step process, but I have it kind of split into two parts. So the really early foundations and then the strategies, but the foundations are having a plan. You need one. It doesn't have to be an official business plan, but you have to have some kind of a plan. And I call it why, who, what, how, and how much. That's your plan.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. Let's pause. Kara, did you have a plan when you started? Because I sure didn't.
No, neither of my businesses. Yeah.
Okay, so it's who, what.
So And this is just step one. This is your plan, your why. So why are you doing this? Because that's the number one thing you need to keep in mind, because no matter if you hire a mentor, if you're doing it on your own, if your best friend's cousin's uncle is helping you, doesn't matter. Things are going to get hard. They're going to be tough. You're going to be putting a lot of work in without seeing results yet. And you have to have a lot of faith in yourself, which sometimes is earned. We all have faith in ourselves, but that faith wavers sometimes. So
yeah, forget that imposter syndrome business, because you're going to feel like an imposter for a while. And that's normal.
Yes, it's absolutely, it's normal honestly at every stage. I'm scaling right now and I've done it before. And sometimes I'm like, what am I doing here? And then I'm like, oh yeah, my why. This is what I'm doing here. So it's not just important when you're getting started, but it's important at every stage. But that's why it's the first part of the first step is knowing why you're doing this, why you're passionate about it. Maybe it's because you want to help someone, or you just love it so much, or you want the freedom and flexibility of, instead of working a 9 to 5, working 24/7. No, just kidding.
It's kind of true though.
Yeah, that's why it's funny.
You have to get all of these things done in your business, but you have the freedom and flexibility to get them done when you want, but you're typically always on call. So they might want that freedom. They don't want the restriction of a 9 to 5, whatever it is, your why. You have to know it. Who is your target audience? And it's not everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, like louder for the folks in the back, because this is the hardest sell.
Yes. This is something that I talk about often. I'm working with brand new businesses and they want to sell to everyone. And knowing who your target audience is doesn't mean, so my target audience, I primarily work with female founders at the very early stages of business. Let's say male comes to me and they need my help. I don't have to turn them away because he's a guy, but I'm not speaking to him in my marketing. The way that I typically phrase it is, who is most likely to buy your products or services?
Yeah, not who could benefit from it, because that's going to turn into everyone really fast, but who is
actually going to buy it. Let's say you're a travel agent. If you're walking down the road and you meet someone and they're in between jobs, they're probably not going on vacation. That person is probably not your ideal client. You come across a busy CEO who loves to travel, doesn't have time to plan, and really needs a vacation, and they have money. They will likely hire a travel agent, So just keeping in mind who your target audience is. When I first started this business, I actually didn't plan to only work with female founders, but that's who was hiring me. So targeting my market, and that's where I do a lot of my networking as well, but targeting my messaging and my marketing to those female founders has really helped me expand my business.
When you're working with clients on the specific who, what kind of sort of like market research do you, I'm assuming, or maybe it's another tactic, walk them through? Because it's something I see with a lot of my clients is they're like, this is my person. And I'm like, how do you know that? Because sometimes then we get the website up and they're talking to that specific person, and that specific person might be coming to their website because the marketing is good, but they're not buying. It's because they didn't actually verify that specific person had the demand.
So I'm a big advocate for networking groups in general, but specifically online Facebook communities that are targeted to whatever you think your niche is. So I work with female founders. I do a lot of women-based networking. I participate in a lot of female women in business communities. So for me, posting in there about my services, getting feedback, things along those lines, that would be a good place to get proof of concept on who my target audience is, to make sure the target audience that I think is going to buy my product actually would. And a lot of it, is still trial and error, because people might raise their hand and say, yeah, I think this is a great idea. I would absolutely love to buy it. But when it comes down to it, maybe they wouldn't. But having that proof of concept helps later on, because when we are doing the messaging and the marketing and all of those things that are way down the road, having that proof of concept in the beginning helps us explore other avenues that might not be working before we explore that actual niche. Because if people raise their hand, I mean, sometimes they might actually not follow through with buying, but a lot of the times, that is pretty good market research.
You get an idea. All right. That's great.
Yeah. And then after figuring out who, we figure out what. So what they're doing, what are you offering? And this isn't getting like everything nailed down to a T. This is just your general concept. So, business coaching. You could throw business coaching out there. You then get 10 people that do 10 completely different things. So just getting clear on what you're doing and like the general service you're going to be offering. So I'm doing strategy work, foundational strategy work, not mindset coaching. So that would kind of be what I would figure out at that point. And then how is the early stages of how you're going to deliver that. And that pairs with how much, which is how much all of this is going to cost, because it's not free. And just figuring out like startup costs and general like reoccurring costs. So they know when we get to step 4, which is finances and funding, how much they're going to need in order to fund their business.
Oh, that's very smart to do it that way. Pricing has been the hardest thing for my entire business journey because I'm really bad with numbers. I'm very bad with math. And that has translated into just being bad with money. So I started just being like, what is the going rate for a blog post? Because at that point I was doing content. And at that point, the going rate for a blog post was like $5 to $10 for 750 words, which is a big post.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can make this work. I can eat ramen. No. That is the opposite of what you should. That's the wrong approach.
Absolutely. I think a big part. So pricing, figuring out how much like you will charge, it doesn't happen in step 1, but it does happen later. And this part of step 1 helps you figure that out later. But there are so many things that go into figuring out how much you should charge. Your experience is, in my opinion, obviously you need to do market research. You need to know, what your competitors are charging. You need to know how much time and effort you're putting into creating these services. And something I walk through clients, which it's actually down the road we get into pricing. It's one of the later steps. I do help them figure out like an hourly rate, even if they're not charging by the hour, just how much they should be making per hour to hit their goals. And like, let's say they have their service-based business and it takes them like 10 hours to deliver that service, then they should be charging whatever 10 hours of their hourly rate is. And we take into consideration things like their experience. Have they been doing it for 20 years? Have they been doing it for 2 years? Where they want to sit in the market. Is this a luxury service? Do they want to be competitive, etc.?
I love that. Yes. That is important to know what your hourly rate is. Even if you never charge, like please charge per project or charge some other way. Because if you are charging by the hour, that's a whole other bunch of problems, but know what that rate is.
Absolutely. But as far as foundation, so that's only step 1. Step 2 is picking a name. People think that this is a lot easier than it actually is. Picking a name consists not just of, you're like, oh, I love this phrase and I think it would be a great business name. And then it's available with your state business department. That's not the only thing. You have to figure out if it's actually a domain that's available. Down the road, you might want to trademark it. Is it already trademarked by someone else? And then across social media, you need to kind of figure out if that domain is available, because down the road, you're going to care about brand consistency across platforms. So figuring that out early in the picking a name step matters. And then, it's getting LLCs or registering your business, getting certifications and licenses that might be needed. Then we get into finances and funding. So a lot of people get an LLC because they want to protect themselves, legally separate themselves from the business, but they don't understand if they don't separate their finances. So have a business account and a personal account. Those things are mixed. let's say you did get sued, the LLC doesn't protect you because in a court of law, they can prove that you were not a separate entity from the business because your money is one and the same. That's important. A lot of early stage founders think that they will qualify for a business loan as well. They're like, oh, I'm just going to fund my business with a business loan. You're not, because in most of the United States, you need 2 years of tax returns as an operating business in order to apply for a business loan.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So you can take out a personal loan and fund the business with it, which is if you need to get a loan, that would be the route that, you can take, get a personal loan that money to the business. This way you could pay yourself back and whatnot. But, these are just little things that a lot of the times, I learned these things the hard way. These are things that early founders really need to have in place when they're getting started. And then the fifth step, which is the last bit of the actual foundational steps, is taxes. Do you need to pay sales tax? Do you need a resale certificate? How are you filing at the end of the year? Because if you're an LLC, you can file as a sole proprietor or you can file as a S Corp. Depending on what stage in your business you're in, it really depends on how you're going to file, and people don't realize it. A lot of people think that even immediately they should start filing as an S Corp, and that's just not true. When you're first getting started, up until you're making about $40,000 a year in profit, staying as a sole proprietor is just fine.
I've also found that tax accountants is it a CPA?
Yeah.
I think it was our CPA at the time. This was now 2020 when I was first starting to make real money in my business, but they didn't know didn't know about the S Corp option. It was something that I heard of and I brought it up and they were sort of we'll have to look into that.
Interesting. So in my experience, the CPAs, then this is just my personal experience, but CPAs I've run into tell their early stage business owners that they should just file it as an S Corp immediately.
Too early.
Yeah, too early. And being an S Corp comes with rules. The biggest one being you have to pay yourself a fair salary in order to be an S Corp. And on top of the meeting minutes and the corporate jargon and blah, blah, blah. So it comes with all of these requirements and stipulations to be an S Corp that if you're just getting started, you can't afford to pay yourself a salary,
Sometimes I still can't, to be honest. I've been doing this for 18 years and sole proprietor for life.
So my dad was actually he was an S Corp guy. As soon as he started his version of the business, he's like, I'm getting an S Corp. His thing was, and this is something that I don't advise, but he always said, you never want to claim a profit. So write off everything that you can. So you're never claiming a profit. And I really don't recommend that at all. When you're just getting started, that makes sense. Realistically, we all want to make a profit.
Yes.
That is good.
That is the goal.
Yeah, that is good for us and good for the business. So my dad gave me a lot of good advice, and not saying that wasn't good, but it's just not advice that I pass on to my clients.
Yeah. So when we're looking at what needs to be in place, your big thing is sustainability and potentially scalability. So I want to talk about those are two words that get thrown around in business communities a lot, and they are very rarely defined. So I'd love for you to tell us, when we're talking about a sustainable business, what does that even mean?
So it kind of does vary from person to person, but essentially it just means you could run your business without killing yourself. You're not doing everything in your business manually. You're able to live the lifestyle that you want to live without needing to be in your business 24/7. So you're able to take a weekend or a week off occasionally and your business doesn't collapse.
I love that. That's a very user-friendly definition.
Exactly. So if you're doing everything manually in your business, you're the marketing department, you're the CEO, you're the operations advisor, and you don't have any templates, you don't have any automations, you have nothing in place. You're likely working 60, 70 hours a week. And if you're not constantly checking your emails or, manually sending things for client delivery, your business is going to collapse if you take a day off. And that's not sustainable for anyone.
So how about scalability? And scalability is a two-parter because first of all, what does that even mean for a solopreneur? And then do we even need to think about it? Maybe when I was in year 5 to 10 of my business, like I thought the only way to grow and make more money was to scale because everybody around me was in tech and everybody was trying to scale. And like, okay, I'm a copywriter. I can scale. No, I could not. I lost so much money and time trying to scale a one-person show. That was some of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my business was trying to scale when I really should not have. So, okay, first tell me what scaling is, and then tell me who is that really for?
Yeah. So first, scaling is not for everybody. I will just preface that. Scaling is not for everybody. That's why I say to build a sustainable or scalable business, because you have to have the sustainability first as the foundation for scaling. And scaling could mean, you want to scale your business from where you are now. Let's say you make $50,000 a year and you want to scale it to $100,000 a year, or you have 10 clients right now and you really want to be able to take on 20 clients. How are you able to do that? So that's becoming scalable. And you could do that in a couple different ways. You might need to change your offers. You might need to set up systems. It just depends if you're seeing like one-on-one clients, if you're seeing group clients, if you have products, things along those lines. And being scalable, just who it's right for is whoever wants more money, more lifestyle, more bigger business. And scaling is not for everybody. I work with a lot of clients that just want a sustainable business. They just want to be able to maintain the client load that they have comfortably, where they are not getting up and having to be in their business at 7 a.m. They can start working at 10 or whenever they so choose. They're not having to jam their schedule filled with clients and then do their admin into the late hours of the night just to get it done. So being scalable would be for anybody that wants to grow outside of that sustainable phase. And that's not for everyone. And it could be not right for somebody right now, but maybe you decide it is down the road. But it does take time to pivot and adjust, because a lot of the times the systems that work for you when you're a sustainable business might not be the ones that carry you through scaling. They will set you up to be able to scale, but they won't always carry you through the actions of actually scaling.
Actually, Kara, did you ever try to scale?
I mean, I have, in the sense I appreciated Theresa's definition, because when I hear the word scaling, I think of like, now I need to blow up and have 1 million Instagram followers and be moving this amount of whatever. Like it just feels really big and huge. But like, yeah, going from like different periods of time where I was like, I have this client base and this is working right now, but if I want to make more income without putting in more hours, then I need to change my offers or change my pricing. I've done that. And now I guess I'm trying to scale in a sense of differentiating my one-to-one service offers as being slightly more high ticket, and then building a arm of digital products that would, now I want that to be able to serve the people who can't afford me one-on-one anymore. But ideally, I would like that to scale. But I'm still comforted now by the fact that scaling doesn't mean that it has to be like, I'm making $100,000 a month in digital product sales. And that's what we're aiming for. And I think that's in alignment with our entire theme of gentle growth. Like I do want to grow and I guess scale, but I want to do it gently.
Yeah, exactly. I think the topic of gentle growth and sustainability really go hand in hand, and you can scale gently as well. It really just depends on what your goals are. And I think right now, especially in my industry, in the coaching space, everybody is like, oh, $100,000 month, $500,000 months. This is how you scale. And, all of these real buzzwords. And it's very aggressive sometimes. And I mean, Do I want to have $100,000 months? Absolutely.
I'd take it, I think.
Yeah, but it's not for everybody. It sounds great, but when you think about the capacity that you have to manage that, even with the right systems and the right offers in place, like scalability even comes down to being able to delegate tasks. A lot of solopreneurs have a control, I don't want to say issue, but they have a thing.
I was a virtual assistant for a hot second to one of my very favorite business owners. She and I have been friends for years. It was a dream job in so many respects until I started doing it. The level of control she required to have over her business made it impossible to work for her.
Yes, and that's the thing. If you can't hand off tasks or delegate things, or if automation scares you, I understand why automation is scary for business owners, but it's also another buzzword that's overused. Some automation is okay for everyone. That's how you're going to be scalable, like sending a calendar link. That is automation. We don't need to send 10 emails back and forth anymore to find a time to connect. In this digital age, we're able to send a calendar link, or even just having a template for email follow-up after a discovery call. It doesn't necessarily need to be automated, just having that template. But automation and delegation are really, really scary for solopreneurs and small business owners. They want to oversee everything. Nobody can do it like they can. Technically, it's true. Nobody's going to do anything exactly like you. But the thing is, that's okay. Just because they're not doing it exactly the way you are going to do it doesn't make it wrong.
I want to go back to the idea of a sustainable business, of maintaining a certain level of comfort, a certain level of delivery, a certain number of hours that you're working. Because that's kind of where I'm sitting right now, because my business growth has taken a back seat to the 5.5-month-old in the next room that just started like sprouting teeth. So like my focus is very much there. And I am just focusing in my business right now of keeping it steady, keeping it afloat, and finding the bare minimum that allows it to pay for itself so it doesn't become a liability. So sustainability is really where I'm at. How do you help people? And I'm thinking from those foundations, what do you have to have in place to create that bare minimum viable business that allows you to have some big life things going on at the same time?
So 2 things. One, systems. And systems don't always mean more tech. I mean, I am a big proponent of having technical systems that are supporting your business so you could be more hands off. But that doesn't always mean that for every business owner. But A, systems. B, ideal work week. Now, ideal work week is just figuring out all of the things that you have going on and when you're able to do them. So client delivery takes a certain amount of time. Being a mom takes time. Your baby is little, but eventually, they'll be in school. And you'll need time for drop-offs and pickups and after-school programs and things like that. I have a good friend that's a successful business coach, and she has a 10 and a 4-year-old, and the 10-year-old is in soccer all the time. So every night, she's on the soccer field, but that's something that she's able to do because she has budgeted the time for it. So figuring out that ideal work week and figuring out how many hours you ideally really want to be working and what you can hand off, either setting up the systems to support it or hiring those people that are going to take those tasks off your plate. So those are just a couple ways that you can create that sustainability inside of your business, depending on where you're at. I mean, and that could be maybe you want to work 10 hours a week, maybe you want to work 30, or that's all you can in the season of life. But having those systems and that ideal work week and knowing what your capacity is very important, because those systems are going to support that ideal work week.
I love the ideal work week exercise. I've done it many times in my business. And Kara, you've probably sat down with your calendar and
yeah.
What is your ideal week look like?
I mean, it varies. And there is my ideal work week that I set up for myself. And then something goes sideways in a day. And then it's, allowing for flexibility. But I do I think we've talked about this, Lauren, where I kind of just have these business life boundaries that no matter what business goal I set for myself, I'm just not for instance, it's really hard for me to start work before 9:30, sometimes before 10. So now I've accepted my ideal work week actually would start earlier, but I've accepted I'm not getting to my computer. I set it as 10. And if I get there at 9:30, it's a bonus. And then I've tried to divide things up in terms of this is going to be a client work focused day. This is going to be a marketing work focused day. And I actually do think I would be well served if I could try to stick to that more, but I'm not there yet. But I do think for me, the attention bouncing back and forth between client needs and the email in my inbox and the actual thing that I need to build at this moment to move my business forward, those things are causing some tension. And if I actually just set some better boundaries around what I'm doing when I'm at my desk or focusing on, that would help. But in terms of my actual when I'm working, when I'm not working, I don't get to my computer before 9:30, 10. And we've talked about how whatever's going on, you can't pay me enough to really work past 5:30. I don't have it in me. So
I think that's really interesting about batching the different kinds of work, because I found that I did the math yesterday. I have 17 hours total per week to do anything for my business. And of those 17 hours, only 5 of those are client delivery hours, 5 paid hours, which is not sustainable by any means, folks. This is not the 5-hour work week at all. But what I've found is I do Mondays. It's all setting myself up for success for the rest of the week. It is figuring out what my marketing needs to be. It's getting my newsletter out. It's getting the reels that I'm trying to do for Instagram that I totally botched last month. But yeah, no, batching all of the working in my business, working on my business for Mondays frees up the times where I've got reliable childcare and I can actually focus on client delivery, emails, copy reviews. That's been helping keep my focus on 0 hours sleep.
there you go. What about you, Theresa? Are you I can't do what I teach person, or do you actually have your ideal work week and your...
It depends on the week. But so
Yeah.
what I teach is having this ideal work week doesn't mean you have to stick to it 100% of the time. It allows you to look at what you have said you would like to be doing on that day to benefit your business, and then taking into consideration whatever fires pop up in your business. And at that point, is it more important to work on Mondays? Let's say they're marketing. Is it more important to stick to my Monday marketing tasks, or are these more important and I actually need to stop what I'm doing and focus on these things? Now, for my ideal work week, I have a blog on it actually, but I don't teach it the same way every time because not every person is the same. So some people really like dialed in ideal work week where they're hour by hour figuring out what they're working on. Some people are the opposite spectrum. They like to have a themed day. So I have different days of the week set up differently, but Tuesdays and Thursdays are when I do my client fulfillment. So I see all of my clients on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Do I have the occasional client that's like, oh my God, I can't meet today. It's a Thursday and I'm booked up next Thursday and Tuesday. Is there any way you could possibly see me on a Friday? I have the opportunity to say, take that into consideration and be like, I actually do have availability this Friday. I could definitely squeeze you in for that. I just can't do it, on a consistent basis moving forward. Or I can stick to my boundaries and, maybe I have the full day, or I, let's say do admin on Fridays. And I have a ton of admin tasks to do this week. And that's just not realistic for me at that week. The ideal work week gives me the visibility and the opportunity to make more informed decisions about how I'm spending my time. Yes, you want to stick to it the best you can, but it's about creating that visibility and those informed decision making versus being super strict and always setting those boundaries, which boundaries are important. But I also believe as a business owner, flexibility is as well.
Flexibility is crucial. And that's what I have gotten wrong for most of my life. Because I always expect that I'm able to do, twice as much as I can in half the time that it actually takes, because I kept planning around me on my best day, and me on my best day is pretty freaking amazing. But that best day happens like maybe 3 times a month. The rest of the time, it is not my best day, and I get into trouble. So it's only been in the last maybe couple of years where I have intentionally spaced things out, given myself 30-minute buffers on either side of a call. Like, I know I'm going to get off this client call, and because I pathologically over deliver, I know I'm going to want 30 minutes to tidy up whatever mess that we've made, because sometimes we make a messy draft and it's pretty good, but I just want to give them a little bit more polish because I cannot help myself. And I think, like, know thyself is a really good rule of business. Know if you are over delivering and mean to continue, which I do. And know if you are expecting too much of yourself all the time. Give yourself some extra time, or maybe rein in those expectations if you can. I've never managed that one.
I tell people that I am not bad at time management. I'm actually really good at time management. I'm bad at time estimation.
Yes.
So estimating how much time I need, my husband would tell you, to get ready. I'm really bad at estimating how much time it takes me to get ready. But I am very, very similar when it comes to over delivery. And I think that's part of having a more corporate background. So starting this business and having a corporate position at the same time was very interesting. So I was working at the startup, I was doing, marketing, and I would be delivering these strategies or having these, one-on-ones. And every time I would deliver it, I would think I was overachieving or doing a really great job, and it would get torn apart. And then I would be doing the same thing for my client, not exactly the same thing, but I'd be delivering like this strategy or this report or doing something for them. And let's say the report is complete at 11 pages. And I'm like, oh, 11 pages is not enough. I need to deliver 14, or I need to deliver 15, even though all of the information is already in there. And I deliver this project or this report or whatever it is to my clients. My clients are like, oh my God, you're the best. This is amazing. Thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without you. And transitioning full time into this business last year, that was really hard to break. And I will not say by any means that I have completely broken it, because by just my nature, I am also a over deliverer. So, and I mean, I love my clients and I want to be giving them, the best experience possible. And sometimes, that requires a little over delivery, but without completely overextending myself.
Yeah, that's a really difficult balance.
It is. It is. I don't want to be up all night thinking like, oh, if I just did that one extra thing for this client, and we all want our clients to be successful at whatever it is, we're helping them do or empowering them to do or whatever we're fulfilling for them, and sometimes going that little extra, half mile, I won't say the full mile, but going that little extra half mile really does make the difference, and that could result in a repeat client versus not a repeat client. For me, it's really all about visibility and information, data. So having the data and understanding what you're capable of with that information. So knowledge is power,
I've got one more question for you that I wrote out. Okay, so when you look at your life right now, your business, where are you allowing growth to be gentler than maybe it used to be?
So this is actually something I am actively going through right now. So a little, vulnerable share. So unfortunately, I know I did mention my dad passed away last year. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of his passing. And obviously you try and prepare the best you can for these things, but you don't really understand exactly what it's going to take from you until you go through it. And I decided in December at the same, approaching this season of life, that I was going to prepare my business for scaling. So big pivots, new offers, launches happening all the time. And I actually just decided I'm getting ready to launch a mastermind, and I actually just decided to push it back a little bit further to give myself grace during this season of my life, because the anniversary of my dad's passing is actually hitting me, granted, I thought it was going to be a rough time, but it started sooner, and, it's been a little rougher than I thought. Like, even earlier today, I had a call scheduled, and it was a networking call, and I knew the person. So I was like, hey, I could really use some downtime this morning, just being open about it. And if we could reschedule for tomorrow, that would be great. If not, I completely understand. And, I could be on the call. And they were like, absolutely no problem. I'm available during that time. And I was able to take a little bit of a break and lay down for a little bit and respect, my feelings and just the season of life that I'm going through. And pushing back the mastermind was also a hard decision, because I do really want to scale this year, but it's not only going to benefit me and my well-being and my mental health, but it gives me a longer sales cycle for the mastermind. So it gives me the opportunity for it to be more successful and to be able to show up as the person that I want to be when I'm delivering those services.
So sorry for your loss. And I so relate to it, because my father's death anniversary was just last weekend. It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
And he passed during the second run of my mastermind, like right in the middle of it.
Oh, that's rough. I just started my business. Well, so I started my business in July of 2024, but I didn't start seeing clients until January of 2025. So, and I was planning on launching my first course in March. So he passed right before I was going to be launching this course, and that too got pushed back. I feel like maybe I just shouldn't launch things in March. Maybe
So it's the Ides of March.
Yeah, I know. Well, my birthday is March 7th. So, I think of March typically as like, oh, this great season. It's my birthday. My dad's heart attack that I mentioned earlier when I took his business over was March 3rd. My birthday is March 7th, and then he passed on March 12th. So just these 2 weeks are generally rougher for me, even previously before his passing. So I think new rule of thumb moving forward is just not launching things in March. My gentle growth moving forward will be not launching things in March. But in the spirit of gentle growth, I mean, being gentle with ourselves. And I've mentioned capacity a few times this year, this episode so far, and just keeping that in mind and being gentle, not only, with your growth, but with yourself. It takes personal growth to be a business owner and grow a business as well. And we need to be kind to ourselves, understand our capacity, because especially as a solopreneur, if you are not functioning well, if you are sad or depressed or just not in your most authentic, best, most successful self, you're not going to deliver your products or services effectively. You're not going to want to show up, and it could create a bad experience for you and for your clients. So I'm a big fan of gentleness, and especially in the season of my own life.
No, I think it's really important to honor the seasons that we're all in at any given point, and giving yourself grace. Like it's okay. Like I can take a downbeat right now just to.
Yeah. And I do want to mention that you don't have to be going through something incredibly traumatic to give yourself grace or need a day off.
Yes.
Thank you. I was going to share one time I took off like 2 days to watch all of a Ted Lasso season.
Great.
But it felt inappropriate after you guys sharing like your personal losses because I didn't have a reason. I just really
No, that is a good reason.
Ted Lasso is a worthy cause.
Yeah, but my business survived. Everything's fine.
But that's okay. And that's part of the reason we become business owners is so we have the flexibility to take 2 days off to watch Ted Lasso or, for needing a day off. Like you don't have to earn it. Like you don't have to earn that day off. You don't have to be, suffering from trauma or, going through anything hard to take 2 random days off. You could do that just because it's going to fill your cup, and you really want to see Ted Lasso, and binging it is the only appropriate way. So
can we just bring this into the global conversation around entrepreneurship to have fill your cup days?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I love that.
I'm a big spa girly. So when I sold my first business, I had went to the JW Marriott in Tampa, downtown Tampa, and they have a phenomenal spa. It's not cheap, but I went. It was a treat for myself. I was like, I sold my business. I'm going to go do a spa day. I fell in love. I understood why people love a good spa day. And I will treat myself to, I try to do it quarterly because, it's a $200 massage if you're only getting a massage, but you have access to their spa facilities. So sauna, steam room, sun deck, mineral pool, all of these other things, meditation rooms, and you get to stay the whole day. So I try to do it quarterly, but at least every 4 months max, I'll get a massage and I'll just stay the whole day. And it's like my happy place. And sometimes I take the day off to do it. I don't always go on a Saturday. Sometimes I go on a Wednesday or a Friday or whatever day. So self-care and gentleness and, all the things, very, very important.
That is what we need to make our businesses sustainable also.
Yes. Taking care of yourself.
I love that. That was a great message to end on. Fill your cup days for everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the spa. If you've been wanting it, don't be super irresponsible, but I do have a business finance background, but I think just about everyone these days, I feel like $100 is the new $20 these days.
Seriously.
So is 200 really, yes, for some people, I understand $200 is a lot, but I feel like at this point as a business owner, it's a write-off, right? No, I'm just kidding.
It should be.
It should be.
Self-care for the business owner.
My bookkeeper will listen to this and be like, no, Theresa, it is not a write-off. Please do not do that.
So where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram. You could follow me personally at Trey, TRE, Builds Businesses, or my business, Your Business Blueprint. I share a lot of the same content to both pages. One's, more personal though. Or on my website at yourbusinessblueprint.biz.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This was really great getting to talk to you and about the foundations, the strategies, and the self-care.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. I really love this conversation, and I really appreciate you guys bringing me on.